Hi, my name is Maria Laris and I'm the director at Sheltering Wings. We are a domestic violence shelter in Hendricks County. And today I'd like to welcome my guest, Gabrielle Reed. She is Miss Indiana for 2010. Welcome, Gabrielle.
Hello.
What brings you to the throne of Miss Indiana?
The throne of Miss Indiana. Well, I started competing about 3 years ago. I initially did it as a way to earn scholarship money for my college education. Like so many of us, I'm 100% financially responsible for my college education, so doing Miss Indiana really just made sense for me. That reason, number one, but also because the organization in itself is so centered around scholarship, community service, and performance. So for me, as a performance major, that was something that I was very interested in and in need of extra experience already. And I was already doing quite a bit of community service with my domestic violence shelter in Bloomington. And so it just made sense. It was an avenue that I could find, that I could combine the three things that I really enjoyed most into one avenue.
So what your platform is domestic violence.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about why you chose that.
Well, I chose to focus on domestic violence prevention because while I did not grow up, from my childhood until my adult years in an abusive home, that wasn't my entire background. But 12 years ago when I moved to Indiana, my mother was remarried, and that is what brought us to Indiana, but it also put me in a situation where I was witnessing my mother in a very verbally abusive situation day in and day out. So watching her going through that, and even still knowing that that wasn't right or healthy, I still found it influencing my relationships as I was a young teen who had just started dating. I found myself justifying verbal abuse that I was experiencing. And it wasn't until I was already a senior in high school that the verbal abuse in my home had really escalated to a point where this is clearly a domestic violence situation, and this is clearly affecting not only me, but my brother and my sister. So from that point on, I used college as a way not just to get out of the house, but to rebuild my life. That was something that I had to work very hard to do. I don't come from a background of incredible wealth by any means, and so I really had to take responsibility for any kind of life that I wanted to create for myself. And I wasn't at a point then where I could really give back. And I went through not several, but a few years of kind of working through, what I had seen and what it meant to me, and really healing. And, still healing, of course. It takes a long time, as anyone who's experienced that or worked with them knows. But by the time that I had been out of my house for about 3 years and had recently moved down to Bloomington, Indiana, where I currently live now, I was really at a peaceful place, a place where I had come to some level of understanding and acceptance with what had happened and was ready to give back. So I started volunteering on a crisis line at my local shelter there, Middle Way House in Bloomington. And what I found was that so many women and teens were going through exactly what I had experienced. And that was shocking, but also I found some comfort in that comfort that you aren't alone. And so that was really where my platform started, and I started going into schools and defining domestic violence. And it's something that I still do, and it's something that Miss Indiana has really been able to push me out into schools and kind of using, I don't want to say the novelty, but it is the novelty of being Miss Indiana to get you into the school, and then it gives you kind of this platform and megaphone to speak with.
When you're out into the schools, do you do people recognize that they are in violent relationships, and do they speak out and ask for help from you?
They do. A lot of time they ask for resources. When I go into the schools, I do focus on just very simply defining domestic violence, defining dating abuse, and I ask a lot of questions. It usually starts off pretty easy. They say the obvious ones, hitting, slapping, and the things that they all know. But then you kind of get to that point where, why is this happening? What can you do to stop it? And there's always more silence in those questions. But it's a silence that I think a lot of people find comfort in, knowing that they aren't the only ones who don't understand. That's one of the big questions, the big unanswered question as to why is this happening?
Yeah.
And there isn't always an answer. We can offer theories and we can offer, our explanations, but it doesn't always provide us with that understanding. And so really making that clear, that we're all working together to find the answer, and there isn't any one right way to get out of the relationship. Is something that I really find speaks to them. And they ask a lot of questions about resources and, you know, what's around them in their communities that they can do, what to do if they feel like they see someone who they are close with who is experiencing this.
And I think that's a huge challenge because so many girls and boys who are in a dating relationship, oftentimes they think they are the only ones.
Yeah.
And to hear you, you know, you seem like you've got it all together and you're Miss Indiana, you know, and to hear your story, it just gives them a hope that, hey, I am not the only one. I mean, if she can do it and get out of it, then maybe I could too. So I applaud you on that. That's just amazing that you have this platform and that you've experienced what you've experienced and came out, you know, the better for it.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what you plan as far as your future goes.
As far as my future goes, I have Miss America coming up here in January. I'm 2 months out. And beyond that, once, you know, pageants and Miss Indiana and Miss America is all done, I really want to continue speaking about domestic violence. That's definitely one of my priorities and something I plan to continue to do. And also performance. I'm a vocal performance major at IU, and so I'm hoping to combine a public speaking career along with my performance career.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like, if you wouldn't mind sharing just a few words of encouragement to anyone that's in a dating violence relationship as we close here today.
I think the biggest and most important thing that anyone can do is to be open not only with themselves, but with the people around them who want to help them. You know, and if you don't have someone in your life where you feel comfortable communicating openly with, there are many of us out there who are waiting to do that for you. I think that is the first step, being open and communicating with someone who is there to help you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And if you would like information on teen dating violence and what it looks like, please feel free to call the shelter and we will send someone out to do a presentation or an educational piece for you. Our number is 317-745-1496. Thanks, and we'll see you again.